Well, howdy there, Internet people, it's Belle again. So today, we're going to talk about how Trump's $600 billion EU payday isn't a deal. Learning nothing from the situation with Japan's trade deal, the MAGAverse took Trump's announcement as fact. They ran with it. As part of the deal, there was what was described as a pledge from the European Union to invest $600 billion in the United States. Eyebrows were raised immediately because on the surface, it made exactly 0 sense. Why? Because the EU doesn't have a state-directed economy. It's also not one state. The EU can't commit funds in the way the pledge suggests. So what's the actual situation? According to reported statements by EU officials, quote, "It is not something that the EU as a public authority can guarantee. It is something which is based on the intentions of the private companies." And the number was, quote, "based on detailed discussions with different business associations and companies in order to see what their investment intentions are." There is no specified timeline for the investments. It certainly seems like the EU talked to various industries, found out what they plan to invest in the U.S. in the coming years, added it up, and told Trump that was the pledge. In other words, Trump's major victory is simply taking credit for what was already going to happen. So what happened? We have a number of options. Option 1. Trump wanted a number to get headlines and play his base again. So the EU gave him one. And both the EU and Trump know it's not really a commitment. The only people who don't know it isn't real are Trump's base. Option 2. Trump isn't great at negotiations, and the EU gave him a pledge of massive investments with no timeline and no guarantee. But the numbers were impressive, so Trump fell for it. Option 3. Trump knows it's garbage and just something to play the gullible in the U.S., but he's made the EU believe he thinks it's real. Just like with every other trade announcement from Trump, the announcement sounds like a big deal, but the details reveal it to be a framework more than a deal, with a bunch of details and promises that aren't backed up by anything, and that really kind of looks like he got duped. I think the most likely answer is that Trump knows these trade agreements aren't complete and won't hold, and that trade deals are far more complicated than he thought, and now he's just playing to his strength, branding. He's pushing out numbers and claiming victory when the numbers are made up and the deal isn't even approved. Once it's all charted, Trump's combination of recent trade moves honestly seems to me like he's playing on the emotion of the U.S. market to keep numbers up and making promises that will never come true. But he's hoping he can keep the hype up. Eventually it'll collapse, but he'll already have gotten what he wants by then. In other words, it looks like a national scale pump and dump. Anyway, it's just a thought. Y'all have a good day.